Today we're going to be learning about how to design the background of our printing plates. If you look here, you'll notice that the background is actually done in chalk pastel using a certain color, a specific color scheme of your choice and patterns of your choice. We're later going to be printing our plate right on top of the background. The first thing you'll need to do to get started is in your packet on page 3 here. I'm writing my name, my mod, and my date, and also I can add my table number. It's always a great idea. Now the first thing you'll need to do after you've done that is read this and also keep in mind the information from the PowerPoint that you saw about expressive colors, ways artists created colors, and the different color schemes. If you need a refresher though, you can use this to help you. So warm colors would be sunny and bright and so forth. So here I am adding in analogous colors are next to each other on the color wheel. And I'm just taking some notes. And complementary would be opposite. Now, for the color examples, you can simply write the first letter of the color. So R, O, and Y would stand for red, orange, and yellow, and so forth. Now, when you get to analogous and complementary, there's lots of different choices. I'm just going to pick one example for each. So for yellow, if I look here, green and orange are analogous. For complementary, opposite, if I pick yellow, it would be yellow and violet, or I could have done blue and orange, red and green, and so forth. Make sure you also answer these questions about which of the color schemes you'd like and why, and how can you really show thoughts, feelings, and ideas in your artwork with different colors to create a mood. Once you've done that, you're ready for the next side. On the next side, that's where you're actually designing what you want the background to look like. For this, you'll want to start in pencil. This word, concentric, is a little tricky. That's actually a math term, and what it means is the same shape, regardless of what shape it is, getting smaller and smaller inside of it. So for concentric squares, the same shape would be getting smaller and smaller. For concentric circles, it's more like almost like a bullseye, and so forth. Now keep in mind, there's no right or wrong to doing this. You could do diagonals that are close together for this direction. Wavy lines could be all different. There's no right or wrong. You're just planning, and this is just to help you brainstorm ideas. In fact, the last 3, say your own. You can come up with whatever it is that you would like to possibly use for your own design. When you get to this stage, you can either pick the same one and alternate the colors within the color scheme. So if I picked like all warm colors, I'd use all reds, oranges, and yellows, but maybe the outside one would be yellow and this one, the outside one would be red. Or I could pick 2 and alternate it. So I'm going to do 2 and alternate. So I picked concentric squares and diagonal lines. Now I could have done all of my own. And maybe I want to rotate it even. Remember, there's no right or wrong for this. Now for this page, you're going to be using crayons, which are in the bins at your tall tables. And the reason you're using crayons is because you don't want to have to spend a long time sharpening colored pencils, and it won't smear all over the paper. So you'll want to use whatever color scheme you think you want to use for your good composition. So I picked cool colors, but if you had picked warm, you would use red, orange, and yellow. Here's an example of one that's already done. Now, after you have done this, you're ready to actually apply this to your good copy paper. Now, on the good copy paper, you won't be using crayon. You will be using the chalk pastels because they blend faster and you can get much more variety in your colors. The first thing you'll need is at your table, tall tables, there are plates. You can simply trace around it 4 times, and notice it doesn't fit exactly. That's okay. It doesn't, your plates may not be exact. It doesn't really matter because you're going to trim down your paper anyway. Now, if you're wondering why there's all this extra space at the bottom, that's because you could have space so that when you have chalk and ink on this, you have space so that you can hold it without getting your hand in the ink. Or if you finish early, you could do 2 more prints and have 6. Or maybe one of these doesn't work out, you have space on the same piece of paper to do extra ones. But on the bottom, make sure you do write your name, your mod, and your table number. When it's That way you can keep them neatly in the folders. When you do go to clean up, make sure that your chalks are on top of someone else's all face up, so you don't get chalks onto someone else's. When they have wet ink, they're going to be in the drying rack by table number. So it's a good idea to start with that. Now you can use either your plate to draw straight lines, or if you want to use rulers, they're available at your tall tables as well. But I'm drawing it neatly in pencil first, just like I did on the practice worksheet. And then I can go back and add color. Now, if I continue doing this, it'll look something like this. On this one, I'm ready to start in color, and I did start just a teeny bit just to try out my colors. But if you wanted to do it circles, by the way, you can connect opposite corners with either a triangle or a ruler, and that'll find dead center, so that when you use the compass, you can keep it centered very easily. So that's one trick if you do pick something that has circles in it to keep it neat. Now with the chalks, there's also available at your table scrap paper. This is really important because the chalks, that way you can keep your edges neat. You'll notice this looks a little messy right here. And if your chalks aren't the exact same colors as your crayons, that's fine. In fact, you may find more varieties. Maybe you find, maybe I found some really neat blue greens, different things that I can use to do this. Notice I'm using the scrap paper to really sharpen up my edges. You can also use it when you go on the edge of your paper so that you don't get it all over the desk. That'll keep your cleanup nice and fast for you. Now, when you're using the chalks, a couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, if a chalk is really dirty, like this green, it's particularly important if you pick light colors like yellow. You can simply use the scrap paper to clean it off, and that way you won't have all the different colors. The other thing to keep in mind with the pastels is that you don't want it to do this. You don't want to have a big load of dust. Not only if I blew on this would it get everywhere, but the ink could actually have trouble sticking to the paper, and it would actually, your image could actually blow away. So you'll want to blend it in. I recommend having maybe one finger for each color to blend with. If you really don't like the feel of the chalks, then let me know and I can give you a paper towel or something, or a scrap paper to use to blend with. But you don't want to, again, have a big pile. On the other hand, you don't want to do this either. Be really wimpy with it. That looks too light, and the colors, you want them to really be nice and bold when you go to print. So if I continued with this, I would have something like this. Now, if you don't finish with the chalks in one mod, that's okay. Just raise your hand at the end of the mod, and I will give you an envelope. On the envelope, you will write your name, your mod, and of course your table number. That way, if this gets lost, you will be able to get it back to you. In this envelope, you'll be able to store your chalks, keep it in your folder, and that way you're not spending half the mod looking for that exact color green that you were using last class. And at this time, I would like to thank you very much.